welcome back to Dragon Claw. Today we have the closest thing to an actual dragon's claw that there is in the knife market. It's the Karambit. The Karambit, aka Hawksbill. Uh, that is a very iconic knife, very unique, and you can point it out big time when it comes to different knives out there. It's easily spotted. So before I start, I'm gonna give a shout out to the haters. So haters gonna hate. Well, have at this one. So it's a WarTech, and I know there's gonna be some people out there that are just gonna be all over this one, and that's okay. They have been known to be cheap. I don't agree with that. I definitely say they're inexpensive. I've never had a WarTech, and I've had a few that have failed on me, that have had any issues. I don't mind the WarTechs. It's just an inexpensive knife. The other thing that some haters are going to say, well, it's a fantasy knife. There's, in general, yeah, they are fantasy knives. There's some novelty knives out there. It is what it is. When I went looking for a Karambit, this was actually the first one I got, my first Karambit. And I fell in love with it. I looked over countless different Karambits that they had in the store, ranging from roughly 10, actually I think there was some I saw that were actually less than 10, all the way up to about 50 some dollars. This one, I think it was around 16, somewhere between 15 and $20, which was fine with me. It was my first Karambit, and I fell in love with it pretty much the second I held it. So WarTech in general, yeah, they have mostly fantasy novelties, but they've got some utility tacticals, and some more typical blades. They actually have a scythe that's pretty cool. Completely impractical, a handheld folding scythe, really. For $6, I think I saw it for at one point. It's worth just grabbing just because it looks cool. But again, no real use. WarTech also has a lot of machetes, axes, even a few kukris, so which I'm very partial to. But enough about WarTech in general. Let's talk more about this knife. This Karambit, this WarTech Karambit, it is about just under 8 inches front to back, just under. It looks bigger than it really is. It's just how it seems, but a little less than 8 inches. I think a little over 7 3/4. Small, relatively small 3-inch blade that goes along with it. Handle, aluminum, so saves a little bit of weight, but this thing is definitely heavy, very heavy, thick, a lot of weight to it, but that's fine for me and my big hands. You'll see liner lock there. The blade itself, stainless steel, stone finish. So stone wash finish. That's about it for technical specs. On the lighter side, you'll notice the Karambit does have swedge, your aka false edge. Not a huge fan. I should say I'm not a huge fan of it, but it just seems like a kind of overpronounced bevel. It's okay. It's just not a big need for it, I'd say. But it is what it is. Slight coil, which it's kind of hard to see, but if I maybe remove my finger there, you'll see a slight coil, which generally speaking is just going to keep you, when you're sharpening your knife, from going into the handle, typically speaking. Bigger coils, they say, can be used for finger, your index finger, which I'm not a huge fan of. Getting my index finger close to that sharp edge. Now, obviously, this one's not intended that way, but I'm just not a fan. I much prefer something back further. So there it is, the coil, a little bit of coil. No flipper. If you didn't notice before, no flipper. Okay with me. Some people like the flippers. When you have an assisted open knife, there's just no need for flipper, in my opinion. Non-speed or non-assisted knives, yeah, that comes in handy. But yeah, It's good. Double thumb stud. I always like to point those out for the lefties. Something else to point out. Actually, they have a fuller here, which for me makes absolutely no sense. Fullers, generally speaking, are for to lighten the blade weight. You can say they're for releasing blood from your opponent or victim or whatever. Blah blah blah. Generally speaking, they're just to lighten the blade. No need on here. This is going to do absolutely no good in terms of lightening the weight. Jimping, tons of it. Again, if you haven't noticed, the entire back, that entire spine, is just a major jimping, and I mean aggressive. The jimping here is a little rough on the hand. Not bad for me, especially with my big hand. It's okay, but can definitely get annoying for sure. Little jimping on the liner lock here, and to notice the jimping right here on the thumb ramp, which is kind of cool depending on how you carry. Karambits, in my opinion, the jimping on the thumb ramp comes in a little bit more handy than other knives. Cool thing about the WarTech Karambit is all the hand positions, and I'll probably point that out a little bit more here in a minute, but just look right here. I mean, and again, not unusual for Karambit, but it's just there's a lot of different positions you can put your thumb in. So depending on, again, how you want to carry. So handle itself, when you look at it, you see all the lines and it looks a little crazy, and I think that's where especially if you know the WarTech, you would say, oh yeah, it's fantasy. Well, and the handle would definitely make you think that, but that handle is actually more functional than it is fantasy. Those grooves are actually finger grooves. So depending on how you put your hand, if you notice my index finger, and I'm a little awkward here, but how you put your hand, those grooves go right into where your fingers are. Even back here, you have a little bit of jimping here for your pinky. If you don't use the finger hole, if you do, then obviously there's no jimping inside, but it's a good grip inside and out. Even back here, again, just handy grooves depending on how you're holding it. There's a few ways to hold this thing, and I'm not a big fan of anything other than your Filipino grip or your reverse, or I call it more tactical. So Filipino is thumb on spine. Again, reason for jimping. But your reverse, blade out. If you notice, thumb rest, really handy there. There's also a slight thumb rest here, so you can have your thumb, let's see if I can show this here, thumb here, or up here, or even up here. And no matter how you hold it, it is extremely comfortable. So 3 ways to position that knife: 1, 2, and 3. So no matter how you want to hold this knife, there's a good grip for it. So let's see, that's about it. Other than I mentioned, it is a pretty heavy knife. It's got it is thick. It is a fairly big knife, not lengthwise, but overall girth. I wouldn't say it's for the small-handed people out there, but it's, even if you do have a small hand, you'd probably find it okay. But for my big hand, it just fits me perfect. Big fan of it. I think that's about it. The Karambit, the WarTech Karambit haters, it's about time for you to start hating if you haven't already. WarTech Karambit PWT 213, RD for red, -E. There's a lot of different colors. It might not look real red, but I don't have the best lighting. I've got some softer yellow lighting, so it makes it look a little orangish, maybe rust color. But believe me, it is red. and it's a textured handle. It's really hard to see, but it looks a little bit better when I show it close up. That's not just glitter, if you will. It is actually textured. So that's it for today, and WarTech Karambit. Thank you for joining. Have a great day.